1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go.
Alright, my speech is on drug testing welfare recipients. In May of this year, a law was passed in the state of Florida that made it mandatory for anyone who's a recipient of welfare to be drug tested. It's an attempt to make sure that the welfare money is going to the children and not towards illicit drugs. Governor Rick Scott says that the goal of this is to make sure we don't waste the taxpayers' money. But there have been arguments that have risen against this new law, such as the fact that there are still ways to receive money even after you test positive, the fact that it's unconstitutional, leading to the issue that it's discriminatory towards families in need, and the claims that the state will spend more money on the project than it's going to save in the long run. Let's discuss some of these arguments now. At first glance, the thought of drug testing in order to be sure welfare money is actually being spent to provide for children seems like a great idea. The intent is to make sure that these children are getting the money and that it's not being spent towards illegal drugs. But how are we to know if the parents are spending the money on other frivolous things? What if they're out spending the money on alcohol? That doesn't show up on the drug test. Perhaps they're buying expensive clothing or new electronics for their house and not providing for their children. An article in the Miami Herald says that there are ways for a parent who tests positive to still receive the money. As the law stands, the money can be given to a state-approved designee who passes the drug test. Who's to say that this person is going to spend the money wisely, or that they won't merely just hand it over to the drug-positive parent? Besides the loopholes that can be found in the system, there's the fact that it violates the Constitution. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution protects citizens against unreasonable seizures and searches. According to the Huffington Post, last month in Orlando, Judge Mary Scriven blocked the testing in one case due to the fact that it was unconstitutional. The case involved a 35-year-old father of a 4-year-old son. He was a veteran of the Navy. This man is finishing a degree through UCF and was seeking government help in order to provide for his child. He refused the drug test and said it was a matter of principle, and because of this, he was unable to receive the benefits. Judge Scriven actually ruled in his favor. Travis Waldron, a writer for ThinkProgressJustice.com, believes that the ACLU, or any other individual for that matter, who attempts to challenge the law will likely succeed. They reported UCLA law professor Adam Winkler as stating that courts have generally frowned upon random drug testing that has no probable cause. Not only is it a violation of our freedom from unreasonable search, but it's very discriminatory. In drug testing, every person who receives welfare, regardless of a known history of drug abuse, it makes the insinuation that needy families are abusing drugs. Government funding is given out to more people than just those on welfare. Why don't we get drug tested when we receive government funding for school? In LeBron's case, he says that this belief is insulting and degrading. An article in Time reports a Florida news station is saying that out of 40 applicants, only 2 tested positive. Time also reports a study that was completed in 1996 by the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism that says that there's no real difference in the rate of drug abusers on welfare versus those who aren't on welfare. The study showed that 70% of drug users are people who are employed full-time. These statistics alone show us that just because you're in need of government assistance, it doesn't make you a drug addict. All of which leads to the final point in which this testing could be costing the state more money than we would save by ruling out those who test positive for drugs. Drug testing has a hefty price. Every drug test costs about $30. The applicant pays this money up front, but if they test negative, then the state has to reimburse them this money. The Huffington Post reports that Governor Rick Scott says he believes his campaign will save our state $77 million. But nobody is quite sure where that money comes from. ThinkProgressJustice.com, I'm going to pass this around. They've put out some statistics. If the average test costs $30 and 1,000 to 1,500 applicants test each month, the state will owe between $28,800 and $43,200 monthly in reimbursements to those who tested negative. They believe that the amount the state could save on those applicants who were not approved due to a positive test could be a maximum of $48,000 each month. Over a 12-month period, this would be a savings of up to $60,000 when it's believed that starting up the program will cost $178 million the first fiscal year alone. If all of these numbers are correct, the state will be spending far more money than they will save, which is not something we can afford to do in an economy like ours. While I could probably speak on behalf of everybody in this room that we don't want our tax dollars going to support somebody's drug habits, I don't believe that this is the way to go about it. I could probably also speak on behalf of everybody in this room saying you would feel like your privacy was being violated if the Ocala Police Department burst into your house and started a search without you having the slightest idea why. It's an unconstitutional practice. It's a degrading practice in assuming that just because someone needs assistance in feeding their children, that they're spending the money that they do have on illicit drugs. If people are addicts, they'll find a way to support their habit. And the proposed system clearly has loopholes. Finally, let me state once again that Governor Rick Scott's intended purpose behind drug-tested welfare recipients is to make sure we don't waste taxpayers' money. All of the statistics on costs that I found in my research show that the savings from the 2% that test positive will not make up for the millions of dollars it costs to the state and run the program.